He slapped a black pastor in public, but what the pastor did next left everyone in shock. What would you do if hatred struck you in the face, in front of a crowd, and the world waited for your response? In the heart of a small southern town, where whispers of the past still lingered in the air, a single moment would ripple through hearts and history. This is the story of Pastor Ezekiel Moore, a man whose faith was tested in fire, and whose response to cruelty became a beacon of humanity. The sun hung low over Willow Creek, painting the town square in hues of gold and shadow. It was a Saturday, and the weekly market buzzed with live vendors hawking fresh peaches, children darting through the crowd, and neighbors exchanging pleasantries. Pastor Ezekiel, a black man in his late 50s, stood at his usual spot, handing out flyers for his church's community outreach. His warm smile and gentle voice had long made him a beloved figure, though not everyone in Willow Creek saw him that way. Some still clutched old prejudices, their hearts hardened by fear and ignorance. Among them was Tom Hargrove, a local mechanic known for his quick temper and louder opinions. Tom had never hidden his disdain for Ezekiel's presence, muttering slurs under his breath whenever the pastor passed by. That day, something snapped. As Ezekiel offered a flyer to a passerby, Tom stormed through the crowd, his face flushed with fury. "You don't belong here," he spat, his voice cutting through the market's hum. Eyes turned, and the air grew thick with tension. Before anyone could react, Tom's hand flew, striking Ezekiel's cheek with a sharp slap that echoed like a gunshot. The crowd froze. A child gasped. A woman dropped her basket of apples, the fruit rolling across the cobblestones. Ezekiel staggered slightly, his hand rising to his cheek, where a red welt bloomed. But his eyes, those deep, steady eyes, never wavered. They locked onto Tom's, not with anger, but with something fiercer, understanding. The square held its breath, waiting for the pastor's response. Would he strike back? Would he shout? Would he crumble? Instead, Ezekiel did the unthinkable. He knelt, right there on the cobblestones, and began to pray. His voice, soft at first, grew steady and resonant. "Lord, soften this man's heart. Let him see the light of love, not the shadow of hate." The words carried a weight that silenced the crowd. Tom stood frozen, his fist still clenched, his face a storm of confusion and shame. No one had expected this, not the onlookers, not Tom, not even Ezekiel's own congregation, who watched from the edges. The pastor's prayer wasn't just for Tom. It was for everyone there, a plea for healing in a town scarred by division. As he spoke, some in the crowd bowed their heads, moved by the raw sincerity of his words. Others shifted uncomfortably, their own biases laid bare. A young woman, tears streaming down her face, stepped forward and knelt beside Ezekiel. Then another joined, and another, until a small circle formed around him, a mosaic of faces, black, white, young, old, united in that fleeting moment. Tom's bravado crumbled. He took a step back, his hands trembling. "Two didn't mean," he stammered, but the words dissolved into the weight of his actions. Ezekiel rose, his cheeks still stinging, and extended a hand. "Brother," he said, his voice steady, "there's a place for you at my table. Always." The crowd gasped. Tom, a man who had never known grace, stared at the outstretched hand as if it were a foreign object. He didn't take it, not then, but something shifted in his eyes. The seed of change had been planted. Word of the incident spread like wildfire. By Sunday, Ezekiel's church was packed, standing room only. People who had never set foot in his sanctuary came, drawn by the story of a man who met hatred with love. Tom wasn't there, but whispers said he'd been seen sitting alone in his truck, head in his hands, wrestling with his demons. Ezekiel didn't preach fire and brimstone that day. Instead, he spoke of forgiveness, of the hard, holy work of seeing the humanity in those who hurt you. "Hate is a heavy burden," he said, "but love can move mountains." Months later, Willow Creek wasn't the same. The market square, once a place of quiet division, became a gathering spot for community dinners, where black and white families shared meals. Ezekiel's church grew, not just in numbers, but in spirit, as people grappled with their own prejudices. And Tom, he showed up one Sunday, hat in hand, sitting in the back pew. He didn't say much, but Ezekiel welcomed him like a long-lost friend. They talked late into the night, not about the slap, but about life, pain, and the slow road to redemption. The story of that day in the square became legend in Willow Creek, a reminder that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet prayer, an outstretched hand, a refusal to let hate have the last word. Ezekiel's response didn't just shock the crowd, it changed them. It changed Tom. And in its own small way, it changed a town. Because when hatred struck, love answered, and its echo lingered long after the sting faded. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.